Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Jubes & Co. with me, Michelle Dewberry, Kelvin MacKenzie and Aaron Bastani. Well, we were just talking about Tony Blair. And, of course, when I think of Tony Blair, one of the things I think about is digital ID. Our Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, reckons, of course, that we're going to have this thing mandatory because he wants to clamp down on illegal migration. If you believe that, you believe anything, quite frankly. Anyway, he was speaking out about this. This was in response to a question put to him by GB News. Take a listen.
Here in India, I think it's 1 billion people have digital ID. It's been taken up on a voluntary basis in huge numbers, not least because it means that you can access your own money, make payments so much more easily than is available with others. So I think now we need to go out and make that case of the huge benefits that this will bring.
Kelvin, what do you think? I mean, I'm half laughing. One of the reasons I'm laughing, I can't lie, is because of a message that Matthew, one of my viewers, has just sent in response to that. It's a very serious topic, so I shouldn't laugh. But in response to that Gaza situation, Matthew's just got in touch and said, so Keir Starmer will be really pleased about this peace deal because the sausages will be freed. So I was just looking at that comment as I came to you, because do you remember that unfortunate misslip that Keir Starmer said? Anyway, back to digital ID. Go on.
So what was quite clear is that when he said that this will help stop illegal migration, everybody piled in and said, no, it won't. The illegals don't have any form of ID.
But did you believe that? You didn't believe that?
No, I didn't. But everybody piled in. And actually, the Labour Party, as far as I understand it, the Parliamentary Labour Party are actually saying we wouldn't vote it through either. So now it's been changed to, effectively, it'll be a government number which you can then put in when you apply to schools, and it'll save a lot of paperwork, or your doctors, or any state organisation, and then hopefully any private organisation. Honestly, we don't need it for that reason. If that's the reason, which has now become, oh, you're not going to accept it stops migration. Oh, well, by the way, I buy that now. Actually, how about if you have to have this number in order to operate your life? And I would have thought there was less reason for that than for the migration. And therefore, it sounds to me as though the same thing that happened under the Blair years, where it disappeared at the end, this will also disappear at the end of... So it won't happen, and it will get to 2028, and there'll be more urgent things to go through Parliament, and that will be the end of that.
Have you had a random call lately from a strange number, maybe trying to sell you something or even scam you? If so, your info could be out there. That's because of data brokers, shady companies that scrape the internet for your personal details and sell them to marketers or even scammers. These days, scammers can even use AI to mimic your friends' voices and trick you into sending money. It's not just annoying. Data brokers often target vulnerable people with high-interest loans or sketchy offers. But there is a solution. Incogni, the sponsor of this video. Incogni contacts data brokers on your behalf and requests your info be deleted from their databases. And because your data can keep popping up, Incogni keeps sending removal requests to make sure it stays gone. They've just launched a new unlimited plan with custom removals. If you find your info on a weird website, just send them the link and their privacy team will work to get it taken down. Getting started is easy. Hit the link in the description, create your account and let Incogni handle the rest. It's risk-free for 30 days and you'll get 60% off an annual plan with the code GBNews. Take back control of your data with Incogni.
Which, and by the way, did you get that point that he made in his address there to the GB News guy, saying that actually it's voluntary? I didn't realise that.
No, he was on. No.
Was
he was on about. So he's in India. So what he's talking about there is he's saying that there's about 1 billion people in India that have basically taken this up voluntarily.
Yeah. Correct.
Here, the impression is that it will be mandatory. I think that is so disgraceful.
Yeah.
How dare you? Because this was not in their manifesto, by the way, to make this mandatory for people. I think it is so disgusting. If you're down with digital ID and you want to do that, fill your boots. But most people, I saw a comment the other day, more in common was the poll, 31% of people, they said, were still in favour of mandatory digital ID. Aaron Bastani, your thoughts?
Yes, I think there was a plurality, or a slim majority was in favour until about 3 or 4 months ago. And then you put the meat on the bone.
Yeah.
You hear about Tony Blair being involved, and you hear about how deep it goes, and was actually, no thanks, Gov. In theory, I can see an ID card working, right? Benefit fraud, ID theft, convenience. It's crazy you have to walk around with a water bill to, get credit for a new car or whatever. I get that. But that's not what we're talking about. You're right, by the way, about the illegal migration stuff. It's not going to make the slightest difference on that. But it will have other use cases.
But why would they start off with that as their main argument?
Because they know that people are so frustrated with illegal migration
if they knew
that they might go for
that
it.
was not an argument which could sustain beyond 12
Well,
hours, why bother?
Well, this is the thing. They do think people are thick. Because I saw somebody making the case for ID cards. It was Darren Jones.
Yeah.
He looks like an accountant.
Darren Jones.
He looks like an accountant.
The fellow that turned around and wanted people to think that the majority of people on those not-so-small boats were women and children, that Darren Jones.
Yeah.
The same chap.
Yeah, exactly.
But he looks like an accountant, and there are lots of people. Some people want ID cards, lots of people don't, increasing numbers of people don't. They don't look at somebody like Darren Jones telling them what to think as an authority figure. That's not going to persuade them. And I think it really shows how out of touch this government is, that not only they're wrong on the policy, but also how they can persuade people about the wisdom of the policy. To go back to the actual idea, though, I could support it in theory. When you hear what Larry Ellison says about ID cards, how you could integrate transactions, how the government can monitor all the purchases you make of goods and services online, etc., how that would integrate with digital currencies, etc., you start to have a panic attack. It does feel like 1984. So I can see use cases, very limited ones. But that's not what's on offer here. And finally, a company called Palantir, one of the companies that are in this world, say they will not work on ID cards because they know the next government, if that project starts, will stop it. They don't want that. It's bad business. So I agree with Kelvin. It's not going to happen.
But what I can't understand, it said that India managed to roll this lot out in 14 months. Now, my experience of the state involvement on anything, and we only have to look at HS2 or even look at Junction 10 on the M25, where they're trying to do a roundabout, which seems to have spent $500 million and taken 4 years to do it. This can't. I'm struggling to understand how this is going to be done before the next election.
I'm like a stuck record on this. So if you've watched this programme, you will have heard me wheel out this case study before. But Tony Blair, one of the biggest public sector IT failures in the history of the UK, depending on what metric you use and what cost you put in it, it cost us taxpayers something about £10 billion. It was so bad. It was aimed at the NHS. It was so bad. And I don't trust the public sector officials to be able to, one, build this system, two, manage and maintain and keep this system safe, and three, I don't trust their intentions for such a system. Many of you will get in touch, and I can see you doing it now, saying, what's the problem, Michelle? We already hand our data over left, right and centre. Yes, but that is a choice, my friends. You can choose to have your loyalty cards. You can choose to do this. You can choose to do that. This is about mandatory. It's a completely different system. Dennis says, Michelle, my wife already has absolutely no problem accessing my money in my bank account. If digital ID is going to make this any easier, he says, I'll be skint in an absolute nanosecond. I completely hear you. Many of you, though, Martin says, this ID card will just never even get off the ground. He says the country will go skint before he sees it happening. You won't have to wait very long, I can tell you that. Anyway, look, the conversation will continue after the break. If you are off sick when you go to your doctor, should there be work coaches there to try and get you back to work? Yes, in the doctor's surgery. I'll see you in a minute.